their screams. Greetings, ghouls and creeps, and welcome to Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dave. I'm joined as I am every episode by Ike. Ike, how are you?
Doing pretty good. I have no complaints. No, I mean, I'm sure I could come up with some, but at the moment I have none.
Well, then you have just surrendered your internet card then, because you can't be online if you don't have complaints, because that's apparently all the internet's good for anymore. But I'm just joking. Thank you for joining us wherever you are and wherever you're listening. Make sure you subscribe to us, give us a follow, share the episodes, rate, review us, all that good stuff. And if you're on social media, make sure you follow us there. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Slasher, and Letterboxd. All you gotta do is look up Listen to Screams. That is listen, the number 2 in Screams, and you can find us there. Special thanks, as we do every episode, to Monica and Kayla, our wives, for their support, their help, and their research. And pretty soon they will be appearing once again on the show for another wives rebuttal. They need to nail down what they want to what's the verb?
Rebut.
Rebuke? Rebut?
Rebut.
What they want to argue. Let's just call it what it is, that what they want to argue with us. So we'll see. We'll see what they want to do. But we need to get them on for another wives rebuttal soon. And as we always do right up front, we want to give a spoiler warning. We do discuss movies on this podcast. And in the course of that, we will spoil plot points. You have been warned. On this episode, we are going to be reviewing the new release, Renfield, that is out in theaters now. Go check it out. But before we get to that and all the other things we're going to do, what'd you do this week? Anything fun? Anything spooky? Watch anything good?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I guess first and foremost, my maintained addiction of Resident Evil has continued to persevere. I'm on my second playthrough of Resident Evil 4. For those of us who are not Resident Evil fans, oftentimes these games, I think, need to be replayed multiple times to find all the little secrets and Easter eggs. So I'm on my second playthrough, probably second of many. I also started a new show I watch. It's called The Sinners. The Sinner. It's actually more on the side of like a suspense series, but it's 4 seasons. Each season is its own story, but it follows kind of like the same guy. He's a detective. His name is Harry Ambrose, but he's actually played by Bill Pullman, who, for those who may not know, was the president in Independence Day, and he was also Lone Star in Spaceballs. So it's actually really good. It's a really great TV show. I've really, really enjoyed it. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I've watched anything else that would constitute a spooky thriller or anything of that nature. Man, honestly, no. I really got sucked into The Sinner, so I've been really focused on it. So I really haven't watched a whole lot else.
Well, I can't say that. I think that's a phrase I never thought I'd hear on the podcast. I got sucked into The Sinner.
That's right.
Taken out of context, that can mean so many things. But anyway, let's see. What did I watch? Let's see. I finished up my Halloween rewatch early in the week by watching the new trilogy, the Halloween Kills, and yes, Halloween Ends. I watched it again. Again, I'm not going to knock it or whatever else, but man, this is like the third or fourth time I've seen it. It just doesn't get better for me. It just really doesn't. I mean, I really like Halloween, and I like Halloween Kills. They're pretty decent. And I don't know. I'm not going to open that wound back up. And I'm not going to say I hate Halloween Ends. I'm not going to say it's horrible. It's just I don't know. Well, if you want to know, just go back and listen to that episode. I'm not going to do it again.
Right.
And then I made the discovery. I told you an episode or two that I watched Ginger Snaps again, right?
Yeah.
And I fully enjoyed it. And I don't know why, but probably because I was probably exploring one of the actresses in their relation to Supernatural, as I so often do. And I discovered, did you know there were 2 other Ginger Snaps movies? I was unaware of this. I did not know that there is a trilogy of Ginger Snaps movies with the 2 girls are in all of them. And the other 2 was Ginger Snaps 2 Unleashed and then Ginger Snaps Back to the Beginning. And apparently those were filmed at the same time, just back to back. And they were released in the same year. The second one did not do really well in the theaters at all. The third one was straight to home video at that time. And the second one I was like, it's not too bad, but it's not as good as the first. And man, the third one I was like, what the hell is this? I mean, it's like suddenly they went back to the 18. It was weird. I don't understand what it had. I mean, I don't know. I understand what they were trying to do, but it just didn't fit into the. I don't know. It didn't relate as much, except for the fact that it had the same actresses. I don't know. I didn't enjoy the third one at all. And but I have completed now the Ginger Snaps trilogy. Happy to say there will be no Ginger Snaps rewatch in the future outside the first movie, though. I'm just telling you now. It's just the way it is. And then in anticipation of this coming week, with Evil Dead Rise coming out, I did watch the Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. I have not watched the remake yet. I will probably watch that sometime, but I haven't watched it yet. And then I got sidetracked because for some reason I just had an old hankering to watch It. And I'm talking the 1990 It. And so I watched that. I mean, it's been a long time since I've watched it. And man, it's good. And now now that's just sparked the itch to watch the other two, the two newer ones. So I'll be rewatching those soon too. And but in a related note, my supernatural connection, whatever we call it, 7 Degrees of Supernatural or whatever you want to call it, and tying to Ginger Snaps, the girl that plays Becky in Supernatural, who plays one of the sisters in Ginger Snaps, plays the young girl in It from 1990.
Really?
Yeah, the young, they had the Lucky Seven, the group of kids that are adults later. She's the female, the girl in the young scenes. Unbelievable.
Huh.
Had no clue ever. Just didn't even dawn on me. And I was watching it and I was looking at it and I was like, what is the look in her eye? Who is this girl? And lo and behold, it was Emily Perkins, Supernatural and Ginger Snaps. Blew my mind. So wild. And then not to mention, there was the mom. I see supernatural connections there, and I know this is not a supernatural podcast per se, but it does fit the bill here. And at the beginning of it, with the first kid disappears, down the drain or whatever, the mom of those two kids was in the Supernatural Christmas episode. Just rocks my world every time. It is. It's because I'm telling you what it is. So much stuff is filmed in Canada, and there's I don't want to say troupe, but there are the tried and true Canadian actors and actresses who are in so many things. And because Supernatural was filmed in Vancouver, we get so many of these people that make appearances in Supernatural. But it blew my mind that the actress who played Becky was the young girl. I mean, just unbelievable. But anyway, that's what I watched. So there you go.
Yeah, I've never seen Ginger Snaps, but I think I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, I watched the first one. I enjoy the first one. Man, the second one is not. It's not super horrible. It's not, but man, that third one. I mean, you know me though. I'm a completist, so I had to watch all three. But I don't think there will be a rewatch ever of that third one. Probably not the second one for that matter. But I do enjoy the first one. I like it a lot. But I did notice in the second and third, several other supernatural actors and actresses as well. But I won't dive into all that because I'm not going to hog the show by talking about Supernatural. So anyway, Ike, we have discussed and we announced it on social media. We're gonna try some new segments on the show, right? We're gonna mix it up a little bit, and this is for various reasons, right? It's just to keep things fresh, to keep things lively, to do some different stuff and have some fun. And because as you pointed out, while we fully enjoy the top three and it spawned some really great conversations, there's going to come a point in time where we're going to be scraping to come up with ideas for the top three. I mean, it's going to be really weird stuff. And so we thought, well, maybe we should back off a bit and do some other things so that we don't completely just burn out that game. So we're gonna try a rotation. With each episode of for each month, there'll be one of these segments. It'll be a different segment each episode per month, right? So each segment will be monthly, so to speak. Right. So top three will now be a monthly segment. Wise Rebuttal will now be a monthly segment. We have discussed doing what we're going to call Stump the Co-Host, which is a kind of a trivia-based thing, which will be once a month. And then this one will be another regular that we're going to talk about here in a second. And then we're also going to do one on any month where there's a fifth Thursday. We're going to throw in one called Horror Hot Takes, which is going to be a kind of a hot take on a horror topic, horror movie, horror-related theme, something that might ruffle a few feathers and get people to say, what the fuck, just to do that. And it might be good that we only do it on months with 5 because again, that could be a topic that might burn out pretty quickly if we're doing it super regularly. But one of our new monthly segments that we're going to debut right now, this is the first time we're going to do it, and we're going to see if it works or if we crash and burn. But this segment is going to be called Two Truths and an AI. Two Truths and an AI. All right, Ike, and the gist of this segment is that our researcher, Monica, who puts together our show notes, has gone out and pulled from IMDb. She's using IMDb as her basis, right? So that we have a base to build on. Two synopsis of movies, of horror movies. She's taken out any specific details that would give the movie away and just broken it down to just a very brief summary of those movies. She's pulled two of those from IMDb and then used an AI generator to generate a third movie summary. So basically, we have three movie summaries here. Two of them are real movies, actual movies. One of them is a fake. We're going to read them. And when we do this, we're reading it for the first time. We have not looked at the segment of the notes. We have not looked at our answer yet. We have no clue. We're going on record here. Hand in the sky. That we have not seen these. We're reading them for the first time, and we're going to see if we can pick this out. So we might get embarrassed with this, Ike, but we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, are we ready?
I think so.
Here we go. And they're going to also tie into the theme of the episode as much as they can. So these are vampire based. These are all related in some way to vampires because we're talking about Renfield today. So here we go. The first summary is communist soldiers accidentally unleash the part vampire servant of Dracula as well as Zoltan, his vampire dog. During excavations in Romania, together they set out for America to find the last living descendant of the great Count. All right, that's our first one. Number two, Dracula had always been a solitary figure, the knights being his only company. But one day, on his way back to his castle from a hunt, he stumbled upon a small dog and his life changed in unexpected ways. Why do they all want to give Dracula a dog? What is the deal with this?
I know, right?
And number three, Dracula's lovable, monster-sized puppy Tinkles wants to play, but Dracula is too busy juggling his duties at the hotel and decides to find Tinkles a companion. Okay, that's our three. Before we really get into this, do any of these three jump out as you as a movie you recognize?
The third one almost, I don't think it is, but it almost seems like Hotel Transylvania. It's probably not like at all even remotely related, but like I could definitely see that being like a Hotel Transylvania movie.
I've never seen any of those, so I'm no help there.
But honestly, no, I don't think I've ever seen a movie with like a Dracula character and a dog. I don't think I've ever. That doesn't ring any bells.
Clearly, two of these three are real, so clearly those movies are out there, which is wild. I don't know
a market.
The first one seems very oddly, weirdly specific with his communist soldiers, and I don't know. I mean, his dog's name is Zoltan, and let's see, I don't know.
If I had to give you a guess, the second one sounds accurate, just because I feel like. So no. So I think okay. So my guess is that the second one is the AI generated,
okay.
Because the first and the third one are like you said, they're very specific. The only one that's not specific is the second one.
All right. So we are purely basing our guess not on knowledge, but purely just on we're just trying to play the system here. That's all I've got to play to. Because none of these jump out at me as anything I recognize. So. Okay, so that's what we're going with. We're going with number two is the AI. And again, number two is Dracula had always been a solitary figure, the knights being his only company. But one day, on his way back to his castle from a hunt, he stumbled upon a small dog and his life changed in unexpected ways. Okay, that's the one we're picking as AI. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let me open here. I am opening now. Feel very for you old people. I feel like Johnny Carson here. All right, here we are. Number one is true. It is a movie called Dracula's Dog from 1977, which is available for free on the Canopy app. It was also re-released in 2019 on Blu-ray under the title Zoltan. Hound of Dracula with audio commentary, and it's a big cult movie. Number 2 is AI generated with Dracula's pet as the only parameter. So we nailed it. Ike, you got it. Number 2 is the AI movie. And number 3 is correct. And Ike, you nailed this too. It is called Monsters Pets, a Hotel Transylvania short film from 2021. Holy crap, Ike! You know your animated Dracula films there apparently.
Clearly. I love Hotel Transylvania. It's Adam Sandler actually. He voices Dracula in those. I think.
Yeah. He did. So there we go. First time debuting, we got it right. That hopefully in the future maybe some of these will spark. Oh yeah, I know what that is. But when you get them that they're so well, I mean, I guess these aren't really that vague. I mean, they were kind of specific. Even had some names in there, and it still did not spark it. But of course, I have not ever seen Dracula's Dog from 1977, and I have not watched any Hotel Transylvania. So I was just treading water there, no idea whatsoever. But there you go. Go ahead.
I think you'd probably like Hotel Transylvania. It's literally just like the classic monsters, but animated in a funny way.
Yeah, and I do like animated. I don't know why I've never watched any of it. It's one of those things I just never have done, I guess. But there we go, the debut of Two Truths and an AI, where we had 2 real movie summaries, 1 fake generated by an AI, and we nailed it. I got it right. Picked the AI out, so we'll do that again in a month, and we'll see if we can keep undefeated on this.
That's right, batting 1,000 here.
That's right. Only though, when you're batting 1,000, the only place that goes down. So true. I guess you can stay the same. I mean, I guess technically it's not true, but all right. Well, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll dive into news and upcoming releases. Remember, in the course of discussing movies, the host will spoil plots. You've been warned.
All right, and moving right into some news. Of course, as always, we got to start with some toys and merch. We have the Magic Candle Company. Wow, I didn't know that we would be talking about a candle company, but the MagicCandleCompany.com. They have a Horror Nights collection. It is going to feature an aquatic blend of ozone and musk, which perfectly recreates the familiar smell of pyrotechnic fog. And it's going to be as available as a candle, wax melt, room spray, or fragrance oil. Now, like, don't get me wrong, like, low-key, I do like the smell of, like, the artificial fog. Like, weirdly enough, I do. So, like, I think I do want to buy this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's very peculiar to me, but I do say, if nothing else can be said here, we may be the only podcast that talks about, Dracula's Dog and pyrotechnic fog candles in the same episode. I mean, we're just all over the place today. But MagicCandle.com. MagicCandleCompany.com.
Yeah, I can't forget that company there. That's funny though. I love that. All right, so we do have a couple of key birthdays. We have Clint Howard from Ron's Brother, Evil Speaks, Ticks, and Rob Zombie's Halloween. His birthday is on the 20th. And of course, we also have is it Jordana Brewster? Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
Jordana Brewster, that is from The Faculty, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning. Their birthday is on the 26th. Both of those are reasonably good movies. The Faculty is really good. I know that. Mm-hmm. We also have some anniversary release dates of some pretty key movies, actually. We have Dawn of the Dead from 1979 from the 20th. Bride of Frankenstein from 1935, one of Dave's favorites, of course, from the 22nd. And Scream 2 from the 24th, a 1997 classic. Obviously, Scream 2 is, up there on our list of Scream movies. So if you're curious, check out our Scream episode. And then we do unfortunately have an in memoriam. We have Carol Locatell from Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, who played Ethel, which, if I remember correctly, she's the that they own the shop, right? And she gets killed.
Yeah, she's the crazy neighbor on the whatever you want to call it, the house that Tommy's sent to or lives at. She's with the son, the weird ass son, and they ride it on the moped, and she's just crazy and cusses and makes the weird stew, and they're kind of wacky. But yeah, she played the that mom that had the property next door to the house.
I got you. That makes sense. I was gonna say because I thought she was the store owner, but yeah, I remember that now because the son was like, "Yeah, tell them all" or something like
Yep,
that.
yep, yeah. That's it. Yeah, yeah. I think
Oh
the
Lord.
store owner was in three,
Yeah, I think you're
in
right.
the
That sounds
3D.
right.
Yeah, with the man and woman that owned the little shop that with the weird guy who was walking through the shop eating from the products on the shelf, like eating a donut and taking a drink out of the juice. It was very weird. But yeah, that was in part three.
Gotcha. All right. I mean, I would do the same thing if I owned a gas station. I'd just be eating the food all the time. Uh, but we also have some other news unrelated to food and the Friday the 13th movies. We have the Welcome to Derry prequel series to It. This is going to be set in the 1960s, and this series is rumored to be focusing more on Pennywise the Clown's origin story leading up to the events of the first It film. Now, It Chapter 2 alluded to how Pennywise came to be, but this is set to basically explain that, flesh it out just a little bit more, which should be really interesting because I know the books, not only the It book, but the Dark Tower series really explains kind of like the origin of the Deadlights and all that. Um, and our cast so far for that is Madeline Stowe, Taylor Page, Jovan Adepo, and Bill Skarsgård will not be returning as Pennywise, which makes me sad. Um, but this is due out in 2024 on HBO Max, soon to be just Max, so keep an eye out for that. I'm sure that you're excited for this, Dave.
Yeah, 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 I am. It's should be fun. I mean, I have faith that it'll be done well. All the recent It products and It movies are very well done. So yeah, it'll be curious to see. I mean, we'll venture to guess they're going to stay pretty close to the source material as they have done recently. So should be fun.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. And then on some upcoming releases, we have a couple of tasty morsels for you folks. We do have Evil Dead Rise. It's going to be in theaters on April 21st. Now, obviously, we will be reviewing this next week, and I am both excited and terrified to see this. It is a twisted tale of two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons. Always a good way to ruin a family
That'll do
get-together.
it.
That'll do it. But this will thrust them into the battle, a primal battle, I should say, for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. This is going to be written and directed by Lee Cronin, and he previously wrote and directed acclaimed horror movie Hole in the Ground from 2019. Obviously, we are both super excited for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that trailer, and every time I see that trailer, I just get a little bit more scared to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. Makes me very nervous around cheese graters.
Oh God. We also have Beau is Afraid, which we were also really excited to see, but unfortunately Evil Dead Rise has to take priority. It is also being released on April 21st, so I'll be interested to see how that performs next to Evil Dead. But Beau is Afraid is following the sudden death of his mother, and mild-mannered but anxiety-ridden man confronts his darkest fears as he embarks on an epic. This is a Kafkaesque Odyssey Back Home, starring Joaquin Phoenix from The Joker, Amy Ryan from Only Murders in the Building, and this is written and directed by Ari Aster, the madman behind Hereditary and Midsommar. And this is going to be a whopping 3-hour runtime, so Dave will not be watching this movie.
I tell you what. I mean, good Lord. I mean, I don't know. Is there enough story there to support 3 hours? I guess we'll see. But I don't know. By the trailer, man, I feel like you gotta kind of drop the brown acid before you watch this thing to be able to follow along what's going because it's a trip, and I don't know. We'll see. I guess at some point I'll watch it. It just may have to be in segments.
That's what I was gonna say. It's gonna be like the Justice League when that like the 5-hour Justice League movie came out. Had to watch it in like breaks and stuff. Uh, but in any case, I will be excited to see how this movie performs, especially coming out the same weekend as Evil Dead Rise. But I'm excited for both of these. But obviously, we're going to be reviewing Evil Dead Rise next week. But if let's say you're jonesing, like we always say, you need a little taste of something before you can see Evil Dead Rise. You can check out Lee Cronin's acclaimed Hole in the Ground, and you can see this through Showtime or Paramount Plus on streaming. So
There you go.
If you're wanting to kind of get a feel for who Lee Cronin is and how this movie might pan out, check that out. But
That's right.
yeah,
Hey, before we move on though, I forgot that I meant to bring it up earlier. Did you see the trailer release for Insidious: The Red Door?
I did. I watched it.
Yeah, I meant to bring that up at the beginning. We were talking about what we watched and stuff, but yeah, the trailer was the day we're recording this. It dropped today, I believe. And yeah, I watched it, and man,
I,
looks pretty good. I'm pretty stoked.
I am. Let me tell you what. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me tell you what. Before we move on, I'm sorry if this is a little interruption here. So, before we move on, gotta tell you. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
All right,
Let me fill you
go for
in.
it.
Here we go.
Preach,
Okay.
brother, preach.
Here we go. Whew. All right. The Insidious movies, in my opinion, are some of the best paranormal slash supernatural movies on the market. Every single one of those movies slaps, and I don't mean that in like a weird way, but it's like all of them have like something good. You know what I mean? Sometimes you watch these
Yep.
movies, you have these trilogies, quadrilogies, whatever you want to call them, and sometimes the content kind of lacks. They fall off towards the end. But in my opinion, Insidious is not like that. You have the first two Insidious movies that directly tie into one another. The third one is sort of like a prequel to those movies, and then the fourth one is sort of like an in-betweener, kind of in between all of them. And then this one obviously is 10 years into the future, and it is, of course, it's going to act in the fashion of a requel, because it's obviously, you know, it recasts the kids. I don't think they're the same people. I think they could be. I don't know. But this obviously is going to be a future movie, so I am really excited for it because obviously in Insidious movies, the Tiny Tim song, the tiptoe through the
Hmm.
tube. Oh man, super creepy. Can't hear it without getting goosebumps. And like I just have a good feeling about this movie. I'm pretty sure if I read correctly, Leigh Whannell is attached to this, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean it's a super. I mean, I like. Man, they built the whole franchise here, and it's wild. I guess when you see it, and you're like, oh, this is like the fifth movie, and it's like it kind of hits. It's like, damn, there's already been four. It just
Right.
doesn't. I don't know. It didn't feel like it for some reason. And but yeah, you're right. These are great movies. They're fun movies. I mean, if you're into paranormal horror, which I fully enjoy, and yeah, I look forward to it. We'll be reviewing it, around the time when it comes out, and I mean, it's like I said, it's a big year for horror, and this is another. This is going to be a. I expect this, it'll do well in the theaters. It's going to, be right up there probably as one of the top draws on its opening weekend. I anticipate, and hopefully I didn't jinx it, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited, and the trailer looks great, and it just got me even more excited, and I can't wait. I can't wait. It comes out this fall.
Also, I gotta say, I gotta mention, Patrick
Oh wait, no, no,
Wilson's
no.
directing this, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. I back it up. I don't think it's the fall. I think it's July. If I remember right. I think it comes out in July.
Uh, you are correct. It comes out
Yeah,
on July the 7th, 2023. So we
yeah.
are only a
Right,
few months away from that. So that's not too
right.
far away.
I know. That's it's good. Can't wait. Summer blockbuster. There we go.
There you go. In any
Good stuff.
news, in any case, I think that pretty much wraps us up for news today. Like I said, check out the movies that are coming out this weekend. We'll say it again before the end, but obviously, the more you watch horror movies, the more horror movies they make, obviously. Uh, but when we come back, we are going to check out and we are going to review Renfield.
Listen to Their Screams is now a Fangoria collaborator. Get 20% off your order at shop.fangoria.com by using the promo code LISTEN2SCREAMS at checkout. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or you can click the link in the show notes. All right, we're back here on Listen to Their Screams, and it is time for our weekly movie review. And this time we are reviewing Renfield, which is in theaters now. To sum it up, Renfield is the tortured aide to his narcissistic boss, Dracula, and is forced to procure his master's prey and do his every bidding. However, after centuries of servitude, he's ready to see if there's a life outside the shadow of the Prince of Darkness. That's starring Nicolas Cage, who's in, as it's put in the notes here, a gazillion movies, most notably National Treasure, Face Off, Con Air, but he's playing Dracula in this film. Nicholas Hoult from X-Men: Warm Bodies, who's playing Renfield. Aquafina from Shang-Chi, Jumanji, The Next Level, many other movies, is playing the officer. I don't remember her exact name. I can't, but she plays the officer in this thing. And literally, Nicolas Cage has stated over the past 20 years that it has been a lifelong dream of his to play Dracula, so much so that he accepted this film even though he is not the lead of the film. And a fun fact, Renfield syndrome is also known as a clinical vampirism. It is a rare psychiatric disorder where an individual has an intense fascination with drinking blood or believing themselves to be a vampire. This syndrome is named after the character R.M. Renfield from Bram Stoker's novel Dracula, of course, who consumed live insects to obtain their life force. Does not say that this condition in any way makes you sparkle in the sun, a la Twilight. So that those movies are completely false in their approach to vampirism. I'm just joking. So yeah, this is a movie that I was super psyched about coming out because obviously we're dipping back into classic monsters. I mean, Dracula's obviously, out there. I mean, but it's known for its ties to Universal and obviously Hammer Horror from England. So that's right in my vein. To me, the absolute epitome, peak of the Dracula will, it'll always be Bela Lugosi. And of course Christopher Lee did a great job with Hammer, but Nicolas Cage fit the part, right? He looked the part, and it definitely had the passion in it. One thing that I super love, and I have to mention right off the top, I love how they went. This is, made to be, tied to the original Dracula, and they actually even went so far as to go back and film a couple of scenes from the original movie with Nicolas Cage and Renfield, and this is the new Renfield, and in the black and white to look like the original. The part where he says, "Oh, I never drank wine," and stuff like that. Those and the shots of the eyes with Nicolas Cage, those are direct recreations from the original film, and I love that, of course, right? That just made me giddy to see that kind of homage. This movie is very heavy in the comedy. I will say, if I have two little gripes with the movie. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. It was a fun movie. It was just enjoyable to me, right? It was enjoyable. I felt there were times they leaned too much into the comedy. Now, that being said, all it would have taken to bring it in, I don't think Dracula should have really had a comedic side so much. I think if they would have kept Dracula a little scarier, a little more serious, everybody else could have played the comedy around that. But there was some scenes with just some things that Dracula said and the looks. I was like, it's a little, I don't know, it's a little cheesy for Dracula for me, right? And I have to say, overall, I have always kind of enjoyed Awkwafina, but she was a little much in this film. she was, out there, balls to the wall, and I just feel like they maybe should have reeled her back at just a touch. Awkwafina is, to me, so far, and I'm not saying this, I don't, this is, it's going to sound bad, but she's very early in her acting career. She's kind of a one trick pony right now. That she kind of has one thing that she does, right, in her approach and her acting. I'm not saying that's a bad thing per se, and I'm not saying she won't grow, but I think there's a little too much of it in this, and I don't know. I think they could have kind of reeled that in just a touch. It made a little of the dialogue kind of seem a little forced, but overall, I did enjoy the movie. It was a fun movie. I surprisingly had a little more gore than I expected in it. There was some kills in this thing that were pretty wild, and I don't mean that in a bad way. To me, they kind of fit, they fit the movie. The one guy, which I cannot think of his name right now, who played the mob's son, the guy from Park and Rec. I cannot remember that guy's name.
Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz, that's right. Yeah, he cracks me up, right? And I know, my complaints with Awkwafina can sometimes be relayed straight to him as well, right? He kind of plays the same type of character in everything, and sometimes it is a little much. I don't feel like he was as over the top in this one as he is in sometimes when he plays these roles. I think it was a little more subdued. But I don't know. It was a fun movie. I've rambled a little bit. So give me some of your initial feedback on Renfield.
Absolutely. So for me, Renfield, obviously I like vampires, well enough. I like the concept of vampires, and and honestly, I like pretty much everybody's movie. I didn't really have any major complaints for anybody. I did think that Ben Schwartz was a little too on the nose with like his portrayal, just because I definitely felt like I was watching like John Ralphio in like a vampire movie a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I'm saying. He plays the same character almost essentially in everything. It is literally like the exact same. And I
right,
like him. I like him, but it's like the exact same crap in every movie he's in. But yeah, I mean, whatever. But
right, and yeah, and that obviously was a little troublesome, but at the same time, I thought to myself, it is what it is. It's a comedy movie. I think that they're probably just going for whatever over the top comedy they could do. I will say, as a comedy, just explicitly as a comedy, I would say this was pretty average. It was funny enough. There wasn't anything that like really had me rolling too much. But I
yeah,
will
me
say
neither.
this, as like an actiony kind of movie, this was really superb. There were a
Yeah,
lot of really great action scenes to this. There were a lot of really great fight scenes. The blood and gore in this were honestly great and hilarious at the same time. Obviously, like we said, spoilers, but there's a scene where they're fighting a bunch of mobsters and police officers in an apartment building,
hmm,
and he accidentally like rips off some guy's face. Um,
yeah,
and I'm just like, when that happened, I laughed and I was like, holy shit! I was not expecting to see like some dude's like fleshless skull just like hanging there. And then like he ripped like two guys' arm, like ripped a guy's arms off and like started like beating people to death with them, and then like
yeah,
impaled two people with them. Like, oh my god, it was super over the top in the violence, but it made sense obviously given the context. Um, and I will say this, where the comedy lacked, the action definitely picked up on. Um, and I will say this with as much respect as I can. This was not a horror movie at all. There's
no,
nothing
no, no, no,
scary. Yeah, like
no,
this is a horror themed movie, maybe at best because it's Dracula, but this is not a horror
yeah.
movie. It's not scary.
It's
It's just it's there. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's a monster movie, but it doesn't have any of the suspense or tension or any of that of a monster movie. There's none of that in it, which is what I'm saying. I think they should have backed the comedy off of Dracula completely. I think he should have been a little more sinister, a little more ruthless, and not comedic in any way. And it could have added some tension and a little more scariness. And they still could have kept, some of the horror or the comedy elements with the other characters. And here's you're right. There was, you know, uh, and outside of, I mean, I will say, Monica, my wife, she questioned when we went into this. She was, why are you? This is not a horror movie. I'm like, well, you know what? I mean, it is. It's got Dracula. It's got vampires. So it's got that. I mean, horror is a very broad scope. I get that. But we have talked about it in the past that, horror should at least have some tension and some spookiness, some scariness. And there was not enough, if any, really in this movie. It was an
Right.
action comedy, is what it was, with a monster in it, a vampire in it.
Right. And yeah, and I think that, like you said, the horror genre it's very vast, it's very wide, and there's a lot of different things that, play into the concept of a horror movie. What does a horror movie need? And especially in this kind of genre, what does a monster movie need? And I think that this had a lot of the great aspects, you know what I mean? A little bit of horror, a little bit of comedy, a lot of violence, a lot of blood. It had the right spirit, but I think that, like David said, if you went into this movie and you said we're gonna make Dracula scary, we're gonna make him like a very serious stoic character, and he could literally do all the same things that he was doing, and he could literally just be like this really creepy character. And I think Nicolas Cage could have done it, and I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
it was a skill issue at all. Nicolas Cage
I know.
is a phenomenal actor, despite what people say. He's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
and no, I'll die on the hill. I mean, I've seen him, for instance, in Willy's Wonderland. He was really good. That's a horror movie he was in. Um,
Yeah.
and he's in a lot of other stuff too. But it's just like I know Nicolas Cage could have pulled off a scary Dracula role. He looked scary. He had the really creepy teeth. He had the receding hairline, which may just be natural. Um, you know, but like it just I think he definitely fit the role. Like I was a little worried how he would be as Dracula, but he did great. I just think that
Yeah.
he was too funny. You know what I mean? Which is not something you would
Absolutely.
normally say about Nicolas Cage.
No. I mean, they had the clear villain in this movie, right?
Right.
It was served up, and it was already they even went into it with the advantage of they had a the villain was already established. Everybody knows Count Dracula, right? Everybody knows it is a part of pop culture, so it's established, right? You could have completely leaned into hard the spooky, the scary. I mean, he needed to have just a few kills to kill type situations, right? Or this and different things. And I don't know the little some of the little sarcasm and the little snipes and the little facials. It was so un Dracula like. It was just it didn't fit, right? Did not fit, and it took away absolutely all the scariness. And I think to me though it like you said it wouldn't have changed the movie at all to take the comedy away from Dracula and just put it with the others. It wouldn't have changed the concept at all. And I don't know. I just yeah, there was definitely yeah, not any real horror to it. Even though there was an established villain in the movie, and everything was set up for them. Their approach was not that route. And
Right.
so and it is what it is. Like I said, it was a fun movie for what it lacked in the scariness and the horror aspects. You're right. It made up for it in the action. So as if you're, when we get to the point of ranking, we're not ranking it based on if a ranking as a horror movie. We're ranking it just as a movie. And so, ranking it with the mindset of it being more action comedy instead of horror comedy it's a different light. And but I feel like they dropped the ball to really make a really really good movie by just a couple key aspects. Like I said, the comedy was in the wrong place. I mean, and some of the comedy was it was a little forced, right? I mean,
Right.
having 25 times or whatever where people tell each other "fuck you" just because it's come quick, snappy. I mean, come on, it was kind of a tired joke, after a while. It was a bit much, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I like the fuck you, Kyle. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
Like the first few
but then
times.
they started doing it. She was telling everybody that, oh, fuck you on, and it was just like, okay, let's keep it pinpointed in a little bit, and if we're gonna do that, let's don't, if we're aiming it at the one guy, which could have been the gag in the movie, and then they kind of, I don't know, they kind of spread it out, and it kind of took the effect away pertaining to the one guy. But I don't know. I mean, it was, and to be fair, the movie, well, I'm not saying every movie again. I've said this many times. Every movie does not have to be poetic and make your jaw drop and everything else. The movie was predictable. I
Right.
mean, you knew where it was going. You knew pretty quickly on that pretty much the entire police force was crooked and involved. You pretty much knew fairly early on. Well, Dracula's going to get tied into with this mob family and try to use them at some point, and you kind of knew where it was going to go. And they got there and it was okay and it was fun, but I don't think there was anything about it that I would call was shocking or anything or and I'm not saying again, I'm not saying it had to have that, but it was very predictable.
It was.
And again, yeah, that's not necessarily in a bad, because this movie again, it's an action movie. It's not, it doesn't have to be a puzzle, make you think. Um, so again, I enjoyed the movie. It was a fun movie. There's a couple things I really wish they would change that really would have knocked it up to an exceptional movie for me. It really would have, because it was beautifully shot. I love that it was set in New Orleans. Perfect for this movie. And when you're talking vampires, yeah, give the shout out to the appearance of Cafe du Monde and everything else. A favorite spot there in New Orleans. But it fits because it's like people will chuckle at the little cafe. Oh, there's a vampire cafe, bar and cafe and restaurant in New Orleans. Not necessarily that or whatever, but that exists and that's there, and it's a very spooky type city. Plays into a lot of that. So it was the perfect setting. It was beautifully shot. Nicolas Cage looked great. And did well with what he was given. I just think maybe he was given some of the wrong stuff. The absolute all-star of the movie was Nicholas Hoult. He was
Yeah.
spectacular. he is so believable in everything he does. I mean, everything he did, even when it was, even times where it was comedic, and even times when it maybe wasn't even strongest comedy, he plays it so natural that you just believe this guy and his character. And so he's great. Again, Aquafina, I she is what she is. I think there was a little much of her. They could have toned that back a little, toned back the comedy with Dracula, made him a little more sinister, added a little more spook to it, and made it a little more suspenseful. And I think it would have bumped the movie up a notch. But and it's weird to me because it did okay in the box office, but
Right.
this movie did not perform as well as the Pope's Exorcist
Really?
in opening weekend. Yeah, the Pope's Exorcist, I'm pretty sure, was the number 2 movie in opening weekend, and Renfield was number 4, which is wild to me. It is kind of it's telling to me what people are looking for right now. Of course, I haven't looked, but 99.9% sure Mario was still number 1. I can't imagine that was anything knocked it off. But yeah, Pope's Exorcist on opening weekend.
The world said, I'd rather see the Italian plumber, man. I need that Italian plumber.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, again, I was very excited for this movie, as excited as I was for the content. So I feel like maybe it let me down a little, because, like I said, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I wouldn't say it was a bad movie. It was just I feel like it was misclassified as when you're expecting it to have a little more monster horror elements, and it doesn't. I think it's a little misconstrued, mismarketed. I don't even know if marketed is the right word, but
yeah,
at least my anticipation was wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like it's almost like you went into the movie thinking, hey, it's gonna be one thing, and then you're like, oh, I guess not. But yeah, like you said, it wasn't at all a bad movie, and like I think that's the big thing to take away from this is that I would still recommend everybody go see it. I just would not say that this is a horror movie.
Yeah, no. And this is very much a movie that I think I'll probably rewatch at some point when it comes out in streaming and something else. I can see myself at some point in time sitting around, scrolling through movies, say, oh, hey, it's Renfield. I haven't seen that in a while. Let's give that another watch. And and because again, the fight scenes, the action scenes, and some, the gore that was tied to that was pretty, was pretty good. Right. And so it was what it was. It had some good elements. It had some elements I think took away and kept it subdued a little bit that maybe could have changed, but that could just be my opinion of what I anticipate. I mean, you go in expecting a movie with Dracula, you expect one thing from him, and I don't know. I don't know. We talked about Hotel Transylvania here. I think they gave us a little more Hotel Transylvania Dracula than they did Universal Dracula. So maybe, but let's rank this thing. I'm not saying we don't rank this based on a horror scale. We rank it just as a movie. So. Right. Having seen it, now thinking, oh, this is not a horror movie. It's an action movie. I still think I have to give this movie a 3 because I did enjoy it. It was fun. Like I said, you change a few elements in that to me, and it's a 3.5, 4 almost if you did it the right way. But there's nothing there that took away enough that I would think would drop it below that 3 level, which means I enjoyed it and it was a fun watch. I don't regret seeing the movie at all, and it was fun enough to me that I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 screams.
I think that I'm almost on the same page. I will say that for me, when you have a good like action movie that's like an action comedy, but like a little bit of that horror, like I guess background, I really enjoyed it. So after I watched it, my initial ranking, and I think I'm gonna stick with it, is a 3.5 out of 5. Just because I would put this above some of the movies that I would rank at a 3 that we have ranked as 3s. I would probably go out of my way to watch this movie again. Like when it comes to streaming, I probably would say, let me give it another watch. So, yeah, I'd say 3.5 out of 5 for me on this one.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's such a character that is so dear to my heart that I felt like I was a little let down by that portrayal of that character, and that's so again that kept it like I said, you make a few tweaks, and this is a four screen movie for me. If you change some of those things that I wanted personally would have changed. And I'm not
Right.
saying that everybody else. I've seen a lot of favorable people out there say, hey, they loved it. It was fun and everything else. But yeah, but again, the takeaway is it's a fun movie, but you have to, if you're gonna go see it, or if you haven't seen it yet, it is not a horror movie. It is a violent action movie, and it is it to me it had I don't know, it had more in line with a Rambo movie than a Nightmare on Elm Street type movie. It's just it had kills that were kind of graphic and some gore, but there was no elements of horror. There was no suspense, no tension. Even though there was a villain there, it just wasn't.
Right.
He really never felt like a threat. Really, I mean, honest to God, it was missing. To me, it was missing a lot of that altogether. So, but it is what it is. I still recommend people go see it. It was a fun movie. But I'm now thinking here in the near future. I know I have to go. Evil Dead Rise this week, but man, I'm really jonesing to go see the Pope's Exorcist now. Performed pretty well, and I think I'll like it. So, I don't know. I don't know if I can wait for streaming for it. I may have to go see it. So, but that's it. That's our review of Renfield. 3.25 stars average out for us, or 3.25 screams, excuse me, average out for us. So there you have it. Next week we will be reviewing Evil Dead Rises. We said multiple times. I'm super psyched about this. It's going to be fun. Before we get out of here, talking Evil Dead, we did have a poll on Twitter relating to Evil Dead that said, of the 4 existing movies, what movie do they do people enjoy most? Our listeners and our followers enjoy most? Coming in at number 1 was Evil Dead 2 with 45%. Coming in second was the Evil Dead remake from 2013 at 32%. Coming in third was the Evil Dead from 1981 with 18%. And coming in fourth was Army of Darkness at 5%. I think it's kind of fair. Evil Dead 2 is a fun movie. I really enjoy it. I mean, the remake's okay.
Apologies.
But,
my
that's
sound
all right.
mixer over here is going crazy.
but to me, the strongest movie is Evil Dead 2 and the Evil Dead 1, 2, that first two. And the remake is pretty good. I would agree that I think Army of Darkness so far is it's the weakest of the movie. It's kind of like Renfield. There's a little too much comedy in that for me. So, but I'm super excited to see Evil Dead Rise.
See, I'm surprised there was, I'm honestly a little surprised by that. Sorry, I'm trying to get that song out of my head now. Literally, my sound. So for people who don't, I have a sound mixer, and apparently it decided to play a song today. Anyways, good Lord. Trying to move past that, but I'm kind of surprised by that ranking, though. Only because the original Evil Dead, in my opinion, kind of holds sort of that, like, what's the word? Sort of holds that cult status, if you will. So I'm a little surprised that Evil Dead 2 got above Evil Dead 1, and I'm even a little more surprised that the remake got above the original. Not to say that I don't like either of those movies, because I do like both of those movies a lot. It's just I am a little surprised by that ranking. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how many of those people maybe came into the Evil Dead franchise with the remake, and then maybe revisited the others. A lot of times that does it. To me, 1 and 2, again, that's two movies that they go hand in hand for me. They're like you can't separate the two to me. They go together, right? You have to watch them together in my eyes. So it's very hard for me to differentiate and separate the two as which one I like better than the others. And I like the series. I didn't go into that, didn't discuss that. I haven't rewatched it in a while, but Ash versus Evil Dead, it's a fun series to watch that's out there. But I'm super stoked for Evil Dead Rise, because for everything I see, man, they have stripped away any of the comedic aspects, and they're just getting to the fear, to the gore, to the suspense, to the scariness that I think the first one leaned heavy into. Right, the first one didn't really have a lot of that comedy. That really started coming into it a little more, a little in the second, and then more so in the Army of Darkness, of course. But it's funny because it's like people, when they think of Evil Dead, they think obviously of Ash, and they think of they think of the lines from the comedic parts, and later, this is my boomstick and everything else. That's the more comedic stuff that came in later. So I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe just people are really that stuff sticks with them, and that's what they like. But anyway, about it, I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it. And I'm gonna go to. I think I'm gonna go to an early showing and hope that we're the only ones in the theater, because man, watching a scary movie in the dark by yourself, that's good stuff. So anyway, that's coming next episode. We will review Evil Dead Rise. Make sure you subscribe to us, follow us on all our social media platforms. Ike, before we get out of here, anything you want to say?
I hope you guys are a fan of Louis Armstrong, because if for whatever reason the sound mixer decided to play "What a Wonderful World" today.
Yeah.
I see skies blue. I hope we don't.
One of the most perfect songs of all time. But you know what, that song always makes me think of Good Morning Vietnam, the Robin Williams movie, because it plays it in that, as it's scanning Vietnam. I think it's actually right in the opening movie. I don't, for whatever reason, I that is now, because of that movie. It's tied that song to it in my head.
See, for me, I think of the Sandlot movie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
So it's weird, different generations, I suppose. But yeah, the Sandlot. That's where I get that from. I haven't watched the Sandlot in a long time. I have to watch this now.
Yeah.
That's not horror related, but it's just a personal note.
Well, there was a big scary ass dog in the neighbor's yard, though.
That is true. That is very true. That dog was very scary. As a kid, definitely was afraid of that dog.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's wrap this up. I'm excited for Evil Dead Rise. Cannot wait. Again, this is one of the movies that I've been most excited for this year. I believe the plan is, don't hold me to this, but I believe next week the plan is for our segment will be the unveiling of Stump the Co-Host, our trivia-based segment, where we're going to have each of us will have trivia questions that we will ask of the other. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep score on who wins each time we play it. And when we do our year in review episode, we'll name who is that year's podcast trivia champion between you and I.
Can't stop me.
We have a we'll see. We'll have a chance to shine and show our worth, or we're going to completely embarrass ourselves. We'll see. It should be fun, but as of now, that's the plan, to unveil that segment next episode. So, but until that time, go out there, watch some horror movies in theaters, support the genre, and if you've seen it, go see it again. Let's give them our dollars so that they'll keep making all these movies that we love so much. But until next episode, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and have many pleasant nightmares.